podcast for heroes in the world of Overwatch. This is The Payload.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 12 of The Payload. I'm John Horstman. I push the buttons every week, and I don't usually say that anymore, but it's just force of habit, I guess. We've got an incredible jam-packed show talking about all of the new things that have come out in this last week in Overwatch, and there is a lot. So let's go ahead and jump right in. But first, from Ventura, California, it is Mr. Jimmy Bloxam with that beautiful freaking smile every time he hears that coming.
Yeah, I just love talking about video games, and Overwatch is a video game, so let's get to it.
All right, we will. But second, from Saskatoon, Canada, it's Kevin Hovdestad. Hey, Kev.
Oh, it's good to be back, John. I'm excited. This is going to be a crazy week. There's so much to talk about. And, you know, I apologize to the people who were really looking forward to us sitting and carefully droning on about all of the offense heroes this week. But we're going to do that another time. We got some other stuff we'd like to talk about this week.
I had so many good tweets this week about how we were getting all offensive and in your face, and never got to happen. I'm really bummed about that.
Yeah, I mean, you tried, though. You tried really hard, and we appreciate that.
A plus for effort.
Thank you. Well, we can actually say this, so this is really exciting. Jimmy, how was your week in Overwatch?
It was good. I didn't get to play as much as I would like to, but I did get to dig into the new interface, the new player progression system, all that stuff, and I kind of just jumped around a bunch of different heroes just because I wanted to see how everyone felt after being away from the game for what felt like forever, but it was only 2 months, about 2 months now.
Only?
I know. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got a couple hours in, I got some loot boxes, and I'm getting my bad RNG out of the way before launch.
I did not realize how much I missed Overwatch until I actually got to play this week, because Overwatch is freaking amazing. The new progression system is awesome. The new character changes are awesome. The new maps are amazing, by the way. We're going to get to it, but called it. And it's been good. Kevin, how was your week? Did you get to play any Overwatch?
I didn't, man. I don't want to dwell on it too long. I was away. I actually just got back late last night and was up all night working, trying to get caught up because I was out looking after my little sister. She had surgery last week, and I was out taking care of her for a couple of days and making sure she was all right. So I'm going to play lots of Overwatch this weekend, but unfortunately I had to watch over something else first.
Sure. Well, we're glad that she's doing better, right?
Yeah, she's going to be fine.
Good.
She's doing
well,
great.
We're glad she's doing better. Welcome back to this show. Hopefully this is a nice reintroduction back into the world of gaming and esports, because I know you kind of need that, right?
Yeah, a little something esportsy going on in my life pretty quick here, so I should probably get refreshed. Absolutely.
So we should probably go into the news.
This week in Overwatch.
Yeah, so on February 9th, Overwatch re-blessed us with its presence, and it is back. And we've got a lot of things to talk about. And we're just going to go down the list here. We're not going to waste any time going into it. It's back live. I know for sure at least one beta wave has gone out since then. Did they do a second one today? I heard of a couple
that
people.
I'm aware of.
Yeah,
but
I'm not
first
aware
one was
of any.
Big. Like, there's a lot more people.
A
in the
lot
beta
of
now than
people.
ever.
Yeah.
Whatever like the size of the test scope was on the first push back prior to Christmas, this one is much larger, and lots of people who don't have any special connection to Blizzard or Overwatch are definitely getting in. It's just, you know, they want people on all sorts of different hardware, people who are going to put in the hours and just play the game, help isolate the bugs. I mean, dozens of people I know who were really excited about the game are in as of this week. So
yeah, cool. Well, let's talk about the big news, which would be the new game mode. The new game mode has been launched, and it is Control. So essentially how this works is there's 3 different points to control. So you fight to control the first point, and then if you do that, your team gets a point, and then it resets. You fight to control the second point. If you do that, you win the match. If the other team does it, then they get a point, and then you go for basically it resets, and then you go for the third point, and whoever gets that wins the match totally. So kind of a play already on point capture a little bit, but I'm really interested to kind of see what you guys think. I personally was a little underwhelmed overall. I mean, it definitely works for the game type, and it definitely doesn't steal away from the fundamental philosophy of heroes at the core and being able to switch and everyone having a role and being important. But I thought we were going to see something a little bit more creative. What do you think, Jimmy?
I think I wasn't too surprised by what the mode ended up being. And I haven't had a chance to play it yet, so I don't really have any hands-on experience with it, but did watch a couple of the streamers play it when Overwatch came on. And it looks fun, but yeah, like you were saying, it seems a little uninspired, I guess, but it does really kind of feel a lot more hectic than the other modes from what I've seen, because everyone's on this one point for that entire round, and I kind of do like the idea of having these multi-round matches, and I feel like that could lead into some other potential modes in the future. And yeah, I haven't had enough time to play with it, so I don't have too deep of thoughts on it, but it looks good, but uninspired a little bit.
Kevin, conceptually, how do you feel?
Conceptually, I dig it. I mean, what I was going to say is I think it's nice to see a little bit of variety introduced into the very, very sort of like strict attack and defend roles that existed in both of the previous game modes, right? Whether you're playing point capture or payload, there was very much an offense team and a defense team. And I do kind of like that the new Control mode kind of changes that. Like the emphasis ceases to be on who's trying to keep somebody off of an objective and starts to be like, you all want to compete for it. So the action is a little bit more centralized. There's a little bit more of an offensive focus. Both teams are trying to do more damage and get up close and personal, which is different because it will actually utilize a different set of skills, a different set of positioning. There will be emphasis on different parts of the map than there would have been. Not like obviously it doesn't share a map with anything, but just in general, how people are going to approach those positions will change because you don't necessarily want the same kinds of coverage that you would have wanted when you were defending against a moving payload. Like it is a very different core set of concepts, which I think is good for the game, and honestly makes me really hopeful that we'll see more. At this point, I know Blizzard has obviously said like no more new characters, that's done, but I don't think we're at a point at this point now, right? Even with the game assumed to be out in like 3-4 months, where we could say objectively that we wouldn't see another game type or two. I mean, I assume they're still testing and trying things. I don't think this was the only thing they evaluated as a possibility, right? So I'm really hopeful that they do more of this and that it maybe each different game type will put an emphasis on different characters, different skills, different maps, different abilities, and that's really exciting.
And don't get me wrong, like, it's really fun. It just seems a little obvious, I guess. It makes total sense. It feels a little safe.
Well, there's a pretty narrow set of things that are going to work, right? When you're trying to force 6-on-6 team fights, right? Like, the more I thought about it after we had talked about this on previous episodes and just talked about it in the community in general, some of the stuff that I would have loved to have seen, like multi-point King of the Hill type stuff, even a la how Destiny's PvP worked on some of the Destiny maps, right? You wouldn't get the same thing. You'd get little 2- and 3-man rotating snipe groups trying to take out control points. You wouldn't have just the raw, like, team-based combat that is what makes Overwatch. So
that's fair.
I'm not upset about seeing this one added. I'm just
not at all.
I'm not mad. I really like having more variety for map modes, like game modes, and more maps like this. And I'm not too worried about it becoming something silly like how Call of Duty has like 50 game modes and you have like 2 people playing a map type or something like that. I think there's going to be enough variety to keep it fresh and not too much where you're like, oh, didn't see that map mode that I liked for 14 hours of gameplay or whatever, something like that. So
yeah, I mean, you want the fundamental skills to translate between all these different modes, all the different maps. You don't want people to feel like they, queue up for the search and destroy lobby because it's the only way they know how to play, or the only place or game mode where their preferred character is optimal or whatever. Like they've done a pretty good job here, I think, of making it feel like it's included in the like total package of the rest of the game.
I totally agree with that. Next, the other kind of big tangible things that we had change was we have 2 new maps. We knew about that last week, but we didn't know what they were. The first one is a Lijiang Tower. It is built in the heart of a modern Chinese metropolis. Oh my God, I'm not going to try to read this anymore. But basically, it's a giant tower that was once the home to their state-of-the-art space industry, Luchang Interstellar, and it's pretty cool. It's got a lot of spacey type things, and yeah, I thought it was like a really cool. It felt a lot like a couple of the other cities, so it kind of felt familiar in that way. But awesome job with the aesthetics. I think I only got to play this map twice, so I can't be like, oh yeah, I really like this tiny niche thing. I only got to play it a couple times, but really great job, and I think a really cool setting overall. What did you think, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, I like both of the new maps. I think between the two, this is maybe the one I liked less out of this particular batch, if only, like, to your point, because it does kind of feel like it's not as meaningfully distinct, and it doesn't feel like it tells as much of Overwatch's story, which for me is kind of a thing right now. Like, obviously, it's a shooter. I'm just going to jump in and blow up mans. I don't care. But I do like the fact that the setting of the game and the characters and the way they interact and their voice lines and all these little details do sort of start to flesh out what we do know about the world, and will make it feel whole in terms of why we're playing the game and doing what we're doing when the time comes for them to add more things outside of the game that do explain more of the storyline. So it felt in that respect kind of like this was maybe not the most meaningful inclusion, but you're right. The aesthetic is awesome, and the timing couldn't be better because it's also going to drop alongside Overwatch launching in China next week.
Yeah, so we're coming to another February 17th, right? So
I thought 16th, but I could be wrong.
Whatever. Right around there, right in between.
Yeah, close enough.
The 17th in Chinese time is the 16th in our time. Boom.
Mind blown.
Mind blown. So the second map here, actually, Jimmy, what clever quips do you have about this map?
I really don't have much because I haven't been able to play them yet.
All right.
They haven't come up for me, but these maps are only for the new game mode, correct? Was I right in thinking that, or is that not?
I think so. At least I've only played one, so okay. We're going to say yes.
Okay.
The second one, though, guys, did somebody on the show kind of call this one? Do you remember?
No.
Are you sure?
You need to jog my memory a little bit.
Are you sure somebody didn't? I can do this all day. So I called it. The second one is Nepal. It's an omnic, basically a group of omnic robots experience what they describe as a spiritual awakening. They abandoned their pre-programmed lives to establish a monastery high in the Himalayas of Nepal, where like-minded omnics could gather to meditate on the nature of their existence. It's a robot monastery. I am a freaking genius. On a scale of 1 to 10 genii, Kevin, how genius was this?
I gave you like a 3.
God, okay. Okay, so I really like this map. I think it's really cool. There's a lot of really awesome, like I think there's a little tribute to Hanzo in this one, if I remember correctly. In one of the things, there's a Hanzo and Genji, like, portrait with both of them. One with a samurai sword, katana, thank you, and the other one with a bow and like a dragon coming out of it. It's amazing. So there's a lot of cool little art pieces in there. I got to play this one 3 or 4 times. And yeah, I think it was a really great map. And I think of maybe all of them, it might be my favorite. And it is also the new game type. And I had a lot of fun on that map just overall. Jimmy, did you get any time to play? What do you guys think? Tell me about these maps. Do you like them? Do you want to see something different with them? Do you want to see other game types on them?
I'd love to see that with different game types on kind of the same style maps. I think they've already done that with a couple of them, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look that up. But yeah, like I said, I haven't been able to play the new game mode, so I haven't seen these new maps at all and in first person. But all the screenshots and videos I've seen, they're obviously very beautiful maps, and I'm excited to finally get in the midst of them. And I'm still waiting. Give me a Brazil club map, please.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I heard a couple people this last week really wanted to see the Brazilian nightclub, and I'm like, Jimmy called that one. Hopefully we'll see one, and then you get to do what I just did.
Exactly. And I'll give you a 6.5 out of 10.
All right. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and jump on in then, because I know Kevin hasn't played it, but he likes it better than the other one.
I just like the fact that we're getting some backstory to Zenyatta. That's the best part about that map to me.
Yeah. I still haven't played any Zenyatta in the beta yet. I'm too afraid. I'm scared. I'm watching streams of it, and the people who play it just make it look so hard to be good at it. I don't think I can do it. I'm on
the same page with you there.
Let's go ahead. Play versus AI. So we now know that this works solo or in a party. So basically you can just queue right up, and you queue up against another team of bots with a team of basically you get match made into it, which is pretty cool. I actually did this game once on accident because I'm really good at navigating the menus in Overwatch, and I couldn't help it. There's a couple things I think they need to flesh out yet, because it was kind of confusing, but I got into a game. I was really underwhelmed by the AI overall, which Blizzard has kind of already come out and said, like, you're going to get way less experience. This is really just to familiarize yourself with the characters in a moving environment and how they maybe synergize with others. But the AI was by no means hard, and from what I saw, there's no toggle for like easy, normal, difficult, whatever. So it was pretty just kind of straightforward.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to how Heroes kind of rolled out the AI stuff. I know the AI stuff was locked at pretty low difficulty at first, and they've slowly been rolling out the kind of higher difficulty ones. So maybe we'll see that kind of progression here. And obviously the AI matches are not going to be the primary focus of this game, so they're kind of going to be on the back burner a little bit.
Yeah. They also, part of the AI piece is you now have everybody that's called the training zone. I can't remember. What was it called? Anyways, practice range. The practice range. That's what it's called. Where basically it's a bunch of AI robots and you can walk around and practice. I played it for like 30 seconds, got bored, so I can't tell you a whole lot about that one. Should we talk about the fun stuff?
Yeah, let's dig into it.
Okay, we got through it. Let's talk about the fun stuff. So, new progression mode is announced. It's a really cool. I really like the progression system. So, you're awarded experience to your account. It's an account-wide experience pool, I guess I would say. You're awarded for playing in quick play and play versus AI. Basically, you get experience. As you get more experience, you level up. Every time you level up, you get a loot box. Kevin, tell us about the loot box.
The loot box is awesome. I mean, we've been speculating, tossing around ideas. We had a pretty good theory based on data files and stuff, but we were wondering what eventually we might see for cosmetics in this game. And the loot box is Blizzard's answer. Every time you level up, you're going to open up a loot box that can reward you with new skins for characters, new animations, new emotes, custom character dialogue, sprays, and in-game currency. There's just a ton of stuff that's going to be super awesome so that you can slowly accumulate all of the cool cosmetics that the game has to offer. And at this point, pretty much exclusively by playing. Now, we don't know, maybe down the road, if there might be some kind of purchase option introduced.
There definitely will be. There's a shop button in the game. So
okay, I mean, in terms of like buying boxes versus buying individual items, I think there's maybe some lack of clarity around that.
I'm pretty sure it's the boxes.
Jeff Kaplan has said in interviews that it's something that they're hoping to have really close to launch, is having some sort of real money version of the shop. I don't know if he distinguished between loot boxes and just being able to buy credits, but I'm pretty sure he meant loot boxes, because I think that makes the most sense and is the most fun. And Hearthstone has done really well with that. So, it's like buying dust in Hearthstone or gold in Hearthstone. It just doesn't. Yeah. Sure, you could say you could do that, but it's just not nearly as fun as opening up those loot boxes. And the loot boxes, so they work really cool with the different rarities of the items that you have, which I thought was just brilliant. And a la Hearthstone, I didn't know this, but when you mouse over a loot box, it glows like the color of the rarity of the things that are inside it. So if it glows blue, the best quality thing is a rare, purple epic, and yellow legendary, which is pretty amazing. What else about loot boxes are we missing? Are we missing something?
They're awesome.
They're awesome.
It's a great addition. I'm hopeful that there's more to come in this system, like everything else. I think this is just like, we've seen some great stuff out of it. I hope they have more to offer us, even by launch. I think it'd be cool if there's just more stuff in this vein.
Mm. Something that people have been worried about, too, is as you level higher, because essentially the new progression system is kind of a Paragon system. You keep going infinitely. There's no max number of levels. You just keep going. And a lot of people are worried that as you level higher, obviously loot boxes become more spread apart. But there is a soft cap for experience per level. Have you guys seen this?
I have not.
This is cool. This is fresh. I feel like I should withhold this information because it's the first time that I've ever had something that Kevin or Jimmy did not know. But
yeah, I haven't heard about this. I'm actually excited to hear about this.
So at level 23, the experience is 22,000, and that is the max. After 23, they stay at 22,000 experience points per each level. And
interesting.
A good game on a win is somewhere between 1,500 to 3,000, depending on how well you do. You get, I believe, So basically, it's on average about 10 wins gets you a level, or probably about on average 15 to 20 games if you aren't winning every game, or whatever. So 22,000. That's the cap.
Good to know.
Good.
All right.
I don't know if that'll actually stick. I would be surprised if they didn't muck with some of those numbers coming out of the beta. But yeah.
The progression system, blah, 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 blah. Private game stuff. We do have a very fleshed out private game system. Jimmy, do you have a better handle on this? I don't think.
I have a good idea on this. It's a lot more than you kind of think on the surface. I mean, it's very broad. Oh, there's a lot of cool features now for private games. When we mean features, we mean you get to modify the game values themselves. I mean, you can force certain types of heroes in a match. You can force X number of heroes in a match. So, like, if the competitive community gets to this point where they're like, oh, we're going to cap it so that you can only have one of each hero, they can go into custom games and force that to happen. So it just is a inherent part of the game, and you can mess with damage values, health percentages, all that stuff. So I mean, it's really good for, I think, experimenting with stuff and potentially expanding the game into different competitive modes. So if people think something is doing too much damage, I think they can bring some of that stuff down. I don't know how specific it is. I'd have to take a look, but there is a lot of modifiers in there and lots of room for just really crazy opportunity.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think the number of settings is awesome. I'm hopeful that we see lots more of that, and I'm hopeful that maybe down the road, stuff like that might actually become part of the filter system for what kinds of games you want to play when you go looking for opportunities to play with people. Because right now, they're all exclusively for private games, which is fine, but it would be kind of nice to be able to say, like, okay, yeah, like, I want to go and I want to look for... I don't want to play ranked. I don't want to play competitive, which still isn't in the game, and we're still waiting for that. But like in the short term and in general, I would love to be able to say, okay, you know what? I just feel like playing a game where somebody's made the setting that, yeah, there can't be more than one of any given hero on a team. That's what I feel like playing. Let's just find a game that fits those needs. And I'm hopeful that the engine has the robust capability to allow us to kind of search through all these options and utilize them without me having to have 11 other people that I know personally willing to sit and do in-house games.
Do you think that would be like a private lobby type thing? I know, what game was it that used to have a private lobby and basically you put in your parameters and it kind of fits in? Do you think that would work with so many different platforms and arguably so many different players?
I mean, there's lots of questions, right? Because one of the fundamental things we're really, I don't know if I want to say concerned about, but like aware of at this point, is the potential for this to be a very fractured community. You're already dealing with minimum three platforms to start with. And within those platforms, people playing competitive versus non-competitive versus private matches versus like, yeah, there's going to be a very diverse range of things you can do within this game. Mm-hmm. So it's going to need a pretty healthy player base to sustain all of that. But having said all those things, yeah, I mean, I look at stuff that Blizzard has done in their other properties, things like being able to search for custom games in StarCraft or custom dungeon groups in Warcraft or whatever else, and think, yeah, they could very easily make it so that you could set up a private lobby, explain what your rule set is, and open it up to people, because you're not going to have dedicated servers and the ability to do any of that kind of stuff. So that would be kind of, in a way, like an okay close second, in my opinion.
So I'm actually in game right now. I can kind of rattle down all the custom options really quickly if that's something we'd like to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So map rotation, you can set it to list, random, or a single map. They have it. I'm not sure I totally understand this option, but return to lobby after a mirror match, never, or after a game.
So basically, I know that one. That one's basically so you don't go back to the lobby every time one finishes. It just queues up the next map. So you can have like a playlist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so talking about that playlist, you can select which maps you want to play. So, I mean, if we want to do a custom game, we can just turn it on and just play the new maps and really just get games on those. You can make a hero selection limit. The options are none, one per game, two per team, one per team, two per team, one per game, or two per game. So, I mean, there's some really good kind of nitty-gritty options you can do there. Role selection limit, they only have one option there, none or two of each role per team. You can turn off hero switching. You can have respawn as a random hero for some really fun options cool. there.
I like that one.
The toggles are there for all the heroes. You can turn them individually on or off. So, I mean, that could be really cool for the competitive scene. If they truly determine and feel like a hero is completely broken and is just not good for competitive play, they can turn it off.
Forget competitive, man. That rule, that is no odd jobs. That is exactly what that is.
Yeah. There's a skirmish only, on or off. Health modifiers between 25 to 300% at 25% intervals. Same with damage modifier, 25 to 200. Healing modifier, 25 to 200. Ultimate charge rate modifier, 50 to 200. Respawn time modifier 25 to 200%.
Wow.
Ability cooldown modifier 0 to 200%. And then you can disable skins, disable health bars, disable the kill cam, the kill feed. And this one should be fun. Headshots only.
Oh.
And then,
pretty cool.
There is probably some stuff in there that the competitive community would jump on right away now that you've kind of gone down that list. Like I can see.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that they would get rid of those skins? So no skins in competitive play?
Honestly, I think at the outset, probably. I know that's something that every game sort of struggles with on the competitive circuit, because you have to make sure that what's happening on screen is easy to understand, and that at a glance, somebody who doesn't know everything still knows what's going on. The skins right now aren't like crazy otherworldly hard to pick out, but I could see them just saying, you know what, like at a competitive level, if you want to do this on stage in front of an audience, like we need you to run no skins, so that people who don't play the game every day or don't know what the newest skins are can just jump in and enjoy it alongside everybody else.
Right. Well, I think there's a competitive advantage too, you know, to somebody like, let's say on a darker map, or a lighter map, you know, a Reaper being able to switch between darker colors and lighter colors just so that you blend in a little bit more to the background and things like that. And I think that I did that in Halo all the time. You would choose a color that best matches the map color. When you're playing on Lockout, you go with a blue, like a really true blue. And when you're playing on a purple map, you make that tinge purple, because there's always red versus blue, but you could like change the tinge. And, and at the competitive level, you'd even do that until eventually they just said, hey, no more, you're stock blue and stock red. This one just says, nope, everyone plays as the default McCree. That way, somebody who changes to a different skin or has a specific skin that another person doesn't have, you're not limited on that. And it's skill based, not just, well, I have Mariachi Reaper and, you know, it's hard to see the skull on his face. And so, you know, I have a little bit of an advantage over a player who doesn't have a skin like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough, right? Like, we don't really know. I don't think there was a ton of work done. Like, there was minor tweaks, but not a ton of work done yet on the spectator client for whatever's going to occur in terms of pro Overwatch, which really I know they can't stress about until they get closer to release.
Pro Overwatch?
Yeah, right. But at the same time, maybe skins can help with that, because honestly, it's going to be a very difficult game. It's not going to be like a CSGO type thing where you can just like pick the obvious places on the map to watch and, you know, jump between a couple of core people's perspective as the game is nearing an end. Like, it's going to be frenetic. It's going to be hard to paint a really good picture of what's going on, because there's just so much happening. And when some team says, all right, guys, the strategy is all 6 tracers, let's go. Like, it could get really difficult to keep a handle on what you're seeing in a hurry.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think those are some really good things. And it's obvious. And I believe Jep Kaplan said, he goes, this isn't like the final iteration, but we want people who are wanting to organize tournaments and do those things. We want people to see that we're making serious steps towards customizing the game and making it viable for, you know, esports. And it's a big focus that they've said that they've had. And I think it definitely shows here.
Well, and I hope that when the time comes for that to all sort of shake out, that they take a similar path in some ways to how Hearthstone has kind of worked this out, where there's a core competitive format, right, where Blizzard will say, okay, competitive scene means you have to play a best of 3, you know, you rotate through the 3 different game types, you know, coin toss, winner gets to pick the first map, blah, 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 like whatever it is they want to do. And then the community turns around and says, well, that's awesome, but we want a headshots only, all tracer, you know, brawl tournament where the winning team gets $5,000. Like, because there's lots of stuff like that. The challenge stones of pro Overwatch. Like, I'd like to see the variety introduced, and having all these options means the game gets to have some real legs to let people do whatever it is they want to do, right? To play it however they want to play it. And certainly the high end scene will adopt that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. A couple last minute things, just kind of smaller changes, and we'll talk about the big balance changes that we saw with the different heroes. There is now something called a career profile, where you can kind of look at your career with all your heroes, so you can kind of see your best, your most career kills, your average kills, average deaths, average, like objective kills, I think is one of them, at least for some of the different heroes. I don't know if that's the same for like supports or not so don't quote me on that. So we have that. We have SLI and Crossfire support finally. So for those of you running dual graphics cards on your rigs and running them in SLI or Crossfire, this should give you a lot. I just actually hooked up my Crossfire rig or my SLI rig last night, and I was at almost 280 frames. So that was really cool.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh, jeez. That's beautiful, man.
It was really neat to see that number up in the top left-hand corner. And then also, just like our friend Kevin Hovdestad, Jeff Kaplan's beard progression has been reset as well, as has everyone else in the game. So progression is reset, and they have said that before the game launches, all progression will be reset at least once, if not multiple times, during the final stages of the beta. So you can't take it with you, so don't try to grind out those skins and stuff too much because they're just going to go away. I wonder how they're going to teach if they introduce a real money store. I wonder how they would introduce that into Overwatch if they do it like Hearthstone, where you could buy packs and everything, and then when they went live, well, you got to take some of them with you live, right? But there was one time where they reset it and they basically just refunded you all your packs. Not refund, but they just gave you all your packs back.
Gold, yeah.
Or do they give you gold, or do they give you all your packs?
You got 100 gold per pack.
Okay,
I believe.
I trust
during
you.
the alpha, I think.
Got it.
Yeah, they've done this a couple of times. They did the same thing with Heroes of the Storm,
yeah.
right? Where you could buy stuff during the alpha, and then they reset everybody's account, but they gave you a credit to your account to use to buy stuff, to buy back whatever it was you wanted. So I could see them doing that just as a way to test the functionality for everything.
Yeah. Cool. What else? What else do we need to talk about before we go into balance changes?
I really like the player progression stuff. I mean, I'm just looking at it right now, and you get to see a lot of lifetime stats too. And it's just stuff like, it's silly stuff, bronze medals, cards, environmental deaths, environmental kills, just all sorts of fun stuff in there just to keep track of.
The one piece of community feedback I have seen that I think maybe bears out some merit is there's a lot of conversation right now about basically there not being really good feedback in the game anymore for supports. You don't get a good clean picture of your impact on the game. There's no way as a support player to ever be like the play of the game. Like, it just feels like there's not a lot of good positive feedback on support players, and that for a role that's so critical really ought to be a bit of a priority. You need to feel like at the end of the game, if you were the playmaker, if what you were doing made a difference, that it's more visually impactful, and that you actually get some like positive reinforcement for doing it. Because there's just like, you're not getting credit for kills, you're not getting the same amount of opportunity to like get commendations. Play of the game is never a support. Like, it's definitely something that feels like there's room to grow still.
Support, I do think they need to balance and tune it a little bit more, but I was actually going to say the opposite. Weird. Kevin and I disagree. I thought they've done a really good job in stepping supports up quite a bit, where you get a lot more commendations and medals for being near action, healing your allies when they're doing that. At Zenyatta, if you have an orb on somebody, on an enemy, and they die, you get credit as being a big part of that. Same thing for like healing when somebody's on an objective and stuff like that. So they definitely show that. I totally agree for at least 2 out of the 4 supports. I think Zenyatta and Lucio, I've both seen some plays of the games, like really good Zenyatas and really good Lucios have definitely been there, but they're still, and I don't think any game has actually figured out how to do this well yet, but I do think that Overwatch can, and they're on track to be the first game where supports are really recognized and celebrated, rather than just kind of like being a necessary evil for game balance and to make the other people look good.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I did notice in the little bit of time I did play since it's come back is I don't ever remember seeing play of the game being something that you're like, what? Really? That was play of the game? But that seemed to happen a couple of times in the games that I played. It was like, oh, that was the play of the game, but like nothing really happened there. Like it was like one kill, and it was some goofy kill on there. And I guess we'll move on now. The kind of balance changes, they did announce these, and there are in the game now. There were a couple just kind of overarching general balance changes. Healing effects work on shields now, and players no longer gain ultimate charge for taking damage, and the ultimate charges now charge at a constant rate. So we were talking about this when we were talking about Junkrat, about how you can't just shoot into the void and be like, oh, I'm trying to keep them off a point or something. Now you can do that because they're not going to get any charge off of that for their ultimate.
I think that was a super necessary change, right? Like they had to do that in order to preserve the balance of the game.
Well, it's just such a huge improvement because it, like, obviously one of the major penalties, right, for swapping characters was losing your ultimate charge. So if you were swapping at like a poor time, that could create a real like negative feedback loop for your team. And on top of that, there was definitely like a weird positive reinforcement loop where if you were doing really well and killing people, you were charging your ult much faster, and ults have the potential to swing the game used well. So the team that got ahead stayed ahead, and if someone on your team made like a poor choice about when to swap, they might not recharge their ult quickly enough because they didn't get back to the fight and contribute enough. Like now it feels like everybody's ults are time limited, and they unlock at the same approximate same time, so no team gets out an advantage. It's not like they leveled up and got ults first, like in a MOBA, right? Like,
yeah, from what I've discovered from playing, it only charges when you're alive. So if you die, that's going to reduce the amount of or increase the amount of time before you are able to get your ultimate. So that's
doesn't it totally reset?
No,
when
only
you die?
if you switch heroes.
No,
only if you switch heroes. It's always been that way. It's always only ever been that it gets rid of your ultimate charge if you switch. But this is definitely like across the board a good improvement. And I think, like you said, like really healthy in terms of what it does for the bottom line balance of the game.
Yeah, and do we want to go on to the specific hero
Let's
stuff
do it.
now? Alrighty, Bastion got a lot of changes. Sentry to Recon transition form decreased from 1 second to half a second. This is I think the big one. Bastion can now aim in 360 degrees, but this also means they are not giving him his frontal barrier anymore, and Bastion's core is exposed in Sentry mode, located on his back where he takes triple damage, and the self-repair now heals 25% of total health per second, so 4 seconds you're right back up. Well, you can't heal from 0, so, but yeah, 4 seconds and you get a 100% heal there.
This
I
is
haven't
really
had a
cool.
chance to play, but what do you think, Kevin? I know you kind of started the beta really playing a lot of Bastion.
I was up on Bastion, and I felt like it was really rough. Things like switching between his forms took too long, so it just felt like once you were immobile, you were kind of locked in place. The only time you could move was if you wiped the other team. Otherwise, it was just too much of a risk. Being super limited in your field of range and how far you could rotate sucked, and meant that you were really, again, like you picked a spot and you just stayed there because there was no value to moving around or changing positions. It was way too much of a risk. You know, your back being exposed wasn't, oh, I can turn around and shoot the person who's killing me. It was just, you're dead. I think like all of this to me gives Bastion like a slightly higher skill cap. He does a little less damage, right? They did kind of dial him down a smidge. But on the whole, like I think this makes him less of a liability on a team. He'll be less punishing in terms of like area control for new players, but he'll be a little more viable as people get more comfortable with the game and the maps, but not to a point where he's punishing, right? This doesn't make it so that you can just put 3 bastions on a capture point and be like, oh, no one can get here now. Like there's still strategic ways to counter Bastion even with these changes.
Yeah, definitely. And he has a little bit more escapability now, or I guess kind of being able to respond to if a hero gets behind him. He can actually turn around and shoot at them now, or he can switch into recon mode, which is significantly quicker now, at 50% faster now. I think that's the right math.
100%?
But yeah, it should be interesting. 100%? I don't know.
No, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, math's not our strong
Takes
suit
half
here.
the time.
Yeah, it's faster. So I mean, that's really cool. And I don't play enough Bastion to really say much more. I've seen some Bastions, and he seems definitely a better character than he was. I guess we will move on to Diva, the StarCraft professional. A couple changes, and as much as a Diva fan I am, I think these were necessary changes. The defense matrix size got decreased by 50%, and the defense matrix is now more a cylindrical shape than a cone kind of shape, how it was in the past. So, I mean, this makes her a little less able to take so many shots from all sorts of angles in the game, and just helps balance her out a bit. Because I think I linked you guys that video where they kind of made a joke about how much APM she has if you have six Pharahs all ulting at the same time and her shield blocks all of them. It was like 7,000 APM or something silly like that.
What?
But yeah, it makes it so that you can positionally have an advantage on her better than you used to be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I think we talked a little bit about how she seemed like a little bit on the beefy side, and this is like, it makes the area that's affected more intuitive, but also less oppressive, because there's ways to now get past defense matrix and do some damage to her.
Yeah. Let's talk about Hanzo. I mean, Hanzo didn't really change much. Really, they just kind of refined a couple of different things. And basically the developer comment was just, these quality of life changes are intended to make some of Hanzo's abilities work a little bit more intuitively, which I would agree that they've done. They've kind of made scatter arrow fixed for the spread pattern, which, scatter arrow fixed, whatever. Sonic arrow can now stick to and move along with the enemy targets and barriers, and then Dragon Strike. Hanzo can now turn while using Dragon Strike. So, like little quality of life things, nothing too big, overwhelming. Hanzo is still a high skill cap player, but with very high rewards and some really cool abilities to scale walls, and that's really cool.
Yeah, it was only like the first or second game that it started giving me nightmares again. I hear that dragon, and I'm looking around, where is it coming from? Oh, man. But I'm just glad this is back. And we'll move on to Mercy then. They've changed Mercy a little bit. Guardian Angel can now target dead allies. That was something I read. I didn't really understand it till I started playing it. I was like, oh, I can move to where their dead body is. This is neat.
Well, I think it was just designed as like a way to make it so you didn't get totally ruined as Mercy if like you were trying to escape to a teammate who is like making themselves available for you to jump to them, and then they get picked off and now you're both dead. Like it just made that interaction feel so awful that you just often abandon your Mercy teammate rather than try to help them, and that sucked.
Well, a really important thing too, though, is the range on her Resurrect went from 40 meters to 15 too. So jumping over to be able to resurrect your teammate is actually something really important too, because her Guardian Angel has a longer range than her Resurrect. So that allows you to go over there so that you can resurrect that teammate and hopefully others as well.
Yeah, I think that range honestly might get dialed back up a little bit. Like 40 meters was too much, but 15 feels like it's a little on the short side, because you're often stuck where it's like you're right between two or three teammates and you have to kind of try to pick or like guess at whether you're close enough in some ways, because you just have to make that decision on the fly. And I don't know, it feels like the old one was too much and they tried to nerf it before, right? And couldn't agree on a way to do it. This is their new way to try to dial down the power level of this ability, but that's a really short range. Like 15 meters is not very far in this game. It's really not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing I noticed with playing Mercy a little bit was I was so used to when you get that ult, you have like three people down. You see that the three people are down. You're like, oh, I can res them all. Now it's like, unless they're bunched up together, you can only get one or two. But also the interesting thing, and I noticed this in game, and I almost thought it was a bug, but now reading the notes again, it costs less. So you kind of are able to use this multiple times, or a lot more frequently than you were able to before.
Yeah, it costs less and it activates faster, but you can do it at a far less range. I think like 20 to 25 might be the sweet spot.
20 sounds good. I think more than that, and you start to kind of creep back up into you can just hit it anywhere and your whole team stands back up. Like 20 is probably low enough that it's like you have to make some tactical decisions, but high enough that it's not gonna feel like you can't actually get good value out of it.
Yep. I honestly, this is a really noob thing to say, but I did not know there was a range on Mercy's Resurrect until now. That's how large the range was.
I didn't either.
It wasn't a factor. Like if your teammates were anywhere near where the fights were happening, they were within range, right? Whereas now it's like you might be trying to like hang back and use it somewhere where you're not threatened, and now you can only hit 2 of your teammates instead of 4, or like
Right.
you know they're coming at the capture point from 2 angles, and you're like, well, I have to try to get somehow right in the middle between those 2 points and like kind of catch it midair and get the ability off in a place where I'm still within like 20 yards, because it's calculating on every axis, right? It's also calculating vertically. So it's like I got to be within 20 yards in any direction of these people, and I don't know, it just, or 15 yards right now. Like it's rough. It feels a little rough.
Yeah. For Farah, you can no longer exploit her jetpack on roofs. So there you go, kids. Quit cheating. It's going to get patched.
Yeah, that wasn't even a character change. That was a bug fix.
Yeah,
Not like
right.
this next one. This is the real. This is probably one of the biggest alt changes they've done. Is Reinhardt's Earth Shatter. It decreased its damage by 50%, shrunk the cone width by 40%, and basically said that this was allowing Reinhardt to like one round people. It was allowing him to kill multiple targets by himself, and they want this to be more of like a Zarya style ult. They want it to set up big plays, not be used as a finishing move.
Makes sense, right? I mean, we were kind of talking about it before where Reinhardt was the tank of the game, the true tank, very strong, and it really needed that. The shield is still great. The, his little pin down thing is still very strong, but it was that ultimate that allowed him to basically, you're holding a point. Well, cool. Let Reinhardt explode the point and kill everyone on it, get play of the game, and then you lose the game. It felt awful.
I am, I guess, a little surprised in some ways that this is the change they went with. Like, dialing the damage down makes sense. I don't know that I actually like decreasing the cone width. I think if they were going to do anything, it would have maybe made more sense to shorten the duration of the stun a little bit. Because you're still, like, if you get hit by it, you're down for a long time. And having 2 people go down for a long time instead of 3 people go down for a medium length time, I think is still actually more effective in the long run. So, I mean, it does put the onus on the Reinhardt player to aim better, I guess, which is increasing the skill cap fundamentally. But it's still, if you get hit by it, you're still probably dead.
Yeah. I mean, it's still strong. Again, they're balancing around making ultimates ultimate.
Yeah.
But it's just, some were really ultimate and some were just kind of semi-ultimate.
They were Ulta-ish.
Ultimate.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Roadhog. Roadhog had his stun duration from chain hook increased a little bit, which honestly, I think, Kev, you kind of were talking about it a little bit where it was kind of a really high skill cap to do the chain melee shoot. This makes it a little bit more attainable semi-consistently for just not top-level players. So I think this is good.
Hook is so significant, right? Like, it's such a huge ability. It's one of the only things in the game that you can use to really manipulate positioning in any meaningful sense. It should be a big deal, because this is what Roadhog brings to the table, right? We talked about choosing tanks and how he wasn't really a great choice. Now it's like, okay, if you get a Roadhog who can land hooks and who can grab somebody, grab a Pharah out of midair, grab a Mercy who's trying to jump to a teammate, grab the the Lucio who's trying to hang back behind his teammates and like drag him in and kill him, or at least set up a big kill. That's crazy. And like a hook should feel like if you get hooked, you're in trouble. Whereas before it was kind of like there were so many characters where they could get hooked and just kind of not quite laugh it off in a lot of ways. It just didn't feel like it was establishing the big plays that it should.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good change. Soldier 76. Couple smaller changes, but much needed changes for sure. He's got a new reticle. It's a nice just a real crossy crosshair. What you'd expect it to look. I really like it. Significantly better than the old one. They added a long range damage fall off. So they still want you to be able to use, Soldier 76 from a medium to long range as a DPS, but not so much so that he's sniping like McCree used to be either. And then they have spread recovery. So they used to call this, it's kind of like Bloom, right? Where once you start shooting, pep, 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 every time that you're shooting in succession, it spreads out farther. It used to be after that happened, it would kind of slowly regenerate back to the middle, kind of like Widowmaker's power on her snipe kind of slowly starts, but it starts immediately after you basically take your finger off the trigger. So it's not as damaging to shoot a spray. And then the spread also has a curve, becoming less accurate over time. Because inertia. I don't know.
I am actually floored, to be honest, that there was no long-range damage drop-off before. Like, I expected them to change that point, or, like, change where it happened, or how significant the drop-off was in terms of, like, the percentage point. I didn't think there wasn't one at all. I am blown away, frankly, that wasn't in the original design for this character. Like, that seems like a huge oversight.
Because the reticles sucked so bad.
But the damage was so insane. Like, to have no drop off at range, like that seems
that with
crazy.
The ult. You kind of saw that with the ult a little bit.
With the ult,
you pop it and you just hold
and everything just died.
On the button.
I know.
But because you didn't have spread recovery right away either, though, it made it harder to be consistent at long range for very long. Mm-hmm. So I think those two balanced out.
I think basically in a game that had ammunition, maybe the long range drop off wouldn't have been as big of a deal. But in this game, like, no, man, the long range drop off was a mandatory thing here for sure. And Soldier 76 is still intended as like you can learn the game as this character. He's kind of an easy character to learn to play as. I think he still fits that designation even with these changes. For
sure. For Symmetra, a couple of smaller changes. Well, not smaller, but non-offensive changes. Turret damage no longer generates ultimate dealing damage to barriers, and teleporter cost has been reduced by 40%, but no longer gains ultimate charge while her teleporter is active.
Thank God.
Yeah,
right?
That's so necessary.
Teleporter was just up all game.
Yeah.
Yep. It was super frustrating.
You could never do anything about it. Yeah, it's brutal. This is good. We are happy. Thank you, Blizzard.
Thank you. Torbjorn. Turrets will no longer generate ultimate charge when dealing damage to barriers. Again, consistent with the other turret type stuff. The scrap max has been increased to 200, but you get 20 instead of 30, right? And there's also scrap indicators on the map, making it easier to find. You also have some changes to the rivet gun. So the primary fire, damage is increased by 25%, but the rate is decreased by 20. And the alternate damage is increased by 50, but the fire rate is decreased by 33%. And the projectiles need to be aimed for the ultimate or the alternate fire now. And then lots of changes to turrets, just lots of balancing on the level 2 and 3 turrets that just know that they changed a lot. Yep.
They're good changes. They make the character feel like you can contribute when your turret gets destroyed. They make you feel like you're not just babysitting a turret the whole time, like you're not leashed to it, is the comment I read that I felt like I agreed with the most.
And we talked about that. I believe already a couple weeks ago.
these are very positive changes for like the just health of feeling like playing that character is impactful and that you're not just camping.
Yeah. And then last minute changes here, or the last changes, not last minute. We now have a kill feed in Overwatch.
Where's the applause? Push the applause button. Thank you so much for kill feeds. I cannot believe it took so long. There we go.
Now we gotta wait.
I needed that so much.
Yeah, they did at the same time. Did we?
We did.
Honestly, I have it and I don't look at it. But I'm also really bad at Overwatch.
Well, okay, let's clarify. I think this is super important for the game to be played competitively. I think it's super important for it to be a spectator sport. If you personally are not getting value out of it, it's optional. And people who don't want it can just turn it off.
Yep. And it's really, they did a really good job at tucking it away. So it's not like
it's not
in your face.
Yeah.
And we also
I
have,
forget it's there a lot of the time.
well, that's basically how I feel too.
Yeah.
I basically check it every once in a while when I just see like, do I have a bunch of people dead on my team, or are we good? And then, yeah. And then we also have volume sliders for music, sound effects, and voice chat, which thank you, finally.
Yeah,
that one could also get
better late than
another.
never.
Yeah, that one also could get a big applause. And then we have, they reworked a bunch of the scoreboard statistics, but then go into real detail. So I'm sure someone will data mine like the real specific differences between the old statistics and the new ones. But yeah.
Always. Good
All right.
changes, though. Good changes overall. I'm pretty
So those
happy.
are the big major ones.
I think we're happy here. Like, I don't think there was anything that was really like, why would they do that? That was really awful. Like, this all feels like it's progress in the right direction.
And those were the big ones. There are some other heroes that saw smaller changes. We just didn't want to go down the list of every freaking change because it's like 2.5 pages long of changes. So
we're confident in everyone's ability to read the changes themselves.
yeah, you guys can read. I did want to. The last thing I want to talk about before we ended the show, though, let's talk skins, guys. Can we just talk some skins for a little bit? Can we just nerd out on this for a couple minutes? So
Dude.
the new skins are freaking amazing. So we were talking about before, in the loot boxes, you have different rarities of, you know, prizes or rewards in the loot box. You have 4 per. There's common, which is typically like sound bites, right? I don't think it's anything else, right? Sound bites. And then
I think so.
I think maybe there can be sprays. Maybe some of them can be sprays. And then the blue rares can be skins, sprays, and other sound bites, I believe. And then epic and legendary, I believe, are just skins. And there are some really freaking amazing skins. My first and favorite, the one I want more than anything, I think, Mariachi Reaper.
You
for
have
sure.
said Mariachi Reaper a lot tonight. Yeah.
It's a good looking skin.
It's so amazing. Jimmy, what's your favorite?
I'm like going through them right now. I'm not 100% sure what my favorite is, but this Widowmaker skin, the Audette one, is pretty
Which
sick.
one is that?
She has like this bird on her head kind of looking mask, and she has this crazy outfit. I don't even, it's all has feathers and stuff on it. It totally changes her look from what she has before. And it's definitely one to kind of be looking out for if you're able to grab it.
Have you guys seen Sorry, go ahead.
The other interesting thing I've just thought of just going through the skins is it's mostly the more older heroes that have been in the game a while. Like if you look at someone like Diva, there's not really any crazy skins just yet. It's a lot of just different colorizations of her original skin. So I expect we're going to see a lot more in the future.
Yeah. I really like McCree's Gambler skin.
That was what I was going to pick, is Gambler McCree. Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
Oh my
he's just
goodness.
like
Okay, I just saw this for the first time right now. So
No, Gambler McCree
that's
is
beautiful, man.
probably my
Wow.
straight up favorite. Yeah.
How would you explain this for people on an Overwatch podcast?
It's kind of steampunk. You get to see more of his face. He has a cigar in his mouth, and his left arm is robotic, and it looks like it has like a card dispenser on kind of where the wrist is.
It's like
It looks like
really
they
cool.
took like the classic McCree and then tried to like make him dress up for a like year 2060 Wild West party. It's awesome. I love it.
seriously, it reminds me of McCree in the BioShock Infinite universe. So it's
Totally.
like
Yeah, absolutely.
kind of, you're right,
Yeah.
like kind of steampunky. He's got like the red kind of bowline knot tie type thing. It's really, really
Although,
cool.
if
Can
there's
I-
a character I feel like they nailed on the whole, like one character who's all of the skins look really good, I would have to go with Mercy. Followed closely by Reinhardt.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. Although May has some really amazing ones too.
Yeah, the Mercy ones just speak to me though. Like the Mercy ones feel like they're the ones that are like the most iconic already. If we can double down on that this
They're-
early.
Like, yeah, they've totally changed the feel of her characters. She's this angelic character, and then they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna make it the opposite of angelic." And this is
Well, they've got
devil's
like
kid.
the Valkyrie skin where she's got like basically like a female Thor
Dude.
thing going on.
That is so awesome.
It's like a combination of female Thor meets. Do you remember in Wrath of the Lich King all those
The Valkyrie.
the Valkyrie?
yeah,
They're it reminds me a lot of that. And then her
the
the
imp
devil
and
skin.
Yeah,
Yeah, amazing. So freaking good. All of hers are good. I was really underwhelmed by Farah. I think they only have the
Yeah.
one. But
a little underwhelmed
Reaper
by
has
hers.
some really great ones too. He has El Blanco, which is him all white with the skull on there. And it's kind of like, it kind of almost has like the Gambler McCree style. And then you have the mariachi one where he's got basically a darker skin. And of course you got
Zenyatta's
Blackwatch.
Yeah,
there's
Zenyatta's
definitely
are pretty
characters-
interesting too.
yeah. There's definitely characters where I hope they do more. Like I hope they do more and different stuff with characters like Zarya, who just feels like there's nothing really like creative there, or Lucio. Like I love Lucio. I play a ton of Lucio. I'd love to see something a little bit cooler because right now I feel like his default look is the best look he's got, and
Right.
skins should really be like, no, I gotta get that one. I want to look like that, and I don't
Right.
have that right now.
Well, I think one of the ones that surprised me the most, Katie and I were looking at these and we both laughed out loud, is the Toa Roadhog one where he's like got like the Hawaiian skirt type thing going on with like the tiki mask. Freaking amazing job, Blizzard. And then he's got
yeah.
The Mako one where he's
Yep,
got
the
shark
Mako. He's got
head
the
and,
shark over his head, the
his
treasure
hook
chest.
is an anchor.
Just freaking amazing. I don't even know what to. It was just such a good job. The Torbjorn ones are really good too. Where they
They
go
all
like
just have
super.
so much color, so
haven't
much
seen
character.
that.
Like
Let's see.
it's really well done. And it sucks because we're gushing about this on an audio podcast. Like
I
guys,
know.
go Google Overwatch skins. Go find
Right,
these,
we're trying
go
our
look.
best to explain them, but
Yeah, and then Tracer, she has kind of one where she kind of looks like Zarya a bit. She
Like
has
the
the pink
steampunk
hair,
one?
the shaved side of the head. Yeah, a very
Punk.
steampunk style one. And then the other one is the Mach T one in T Racer. They're kind of like mecha style suits for her. It just looks really cool. I mean, I think
right.
people who are big fans of mecha anime, like Evangelion and Macross stuff like that, will definitely dig that.
Right. Well, we've done enough gushing.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of it. We just had to do it because Overwatch is in such an incredible place right now. We're all really excited about the game. We're playing it a lot. It's in a really good spot, and there's still probably a couple months of beta left, which means that it's only going to get better, and I just can't wait. You guys shouldn't be able to wait either.
What?
Be really
Wait,
excited.
wait.
All right.
We
All right.
missed-
What?
We missed a thing that's super important, and I can't believe we glossed over this. They're setting it up. I'm not clear on the tech or exactly how this is going to work, but it looks like right now,
That's
they said on the
right.
forums, your collection will transfer from region to region. So if you
I
decide
posted
you want to go
that.
play on EU instead of NA, all your stuff is going to go with you. It's not going to be like Hearthstone where you got to maintain separate collections, or Heroes where you got to maintain separate collections. You have one master Overwatch profile that transcends Blizzard's region system. That's going to be super awesome.
It's so very cool.
I have a lot of friends in EU that I don't get to play with because you have to roll a new character or get a bunch of packs, and you just can't do it.
Well, and I mean, I don't know if they would consider, probably not, having this set up in a way where it maybe also cut between PC and console. I'm guessing no. But just regions alone, that's huge. That's awesome. I'm super glad they did that, because that's a real nice touch that says they're not going to just try to squeeze you for a bunch of money. You got the game. Just enjoy it.
Yeah. I think we got to get out of here. It's been a long show. We got to gush. We're ending on a high note, so that feels really good. Thanks so much for hanging out with us in the chat. Everyone's watching Overwatch streams right now.
Which is nice.
I don't blame them.
We were the number one Overwatch stream like 2 weeks ago.
I know, right? Thank you, guys. We really want your emails to chat about on the show every week. So, if you would like, and we encourage you to, send us your emails to thepayload@blizzpro.com so we can discuss them on the show. And also, if you do like the show, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It really helps us with the discoverability piece, and we like to read those on the show every week as well. Shoutouts for the week. Kev, let's let you do the honor this week. You were gone. You've had a rough week. Give us some shoutouts.
Yeah, tough all over the place. Lots of stuff going on. So thank you guys for sort of putting up with my absence. It's been good to be back. Unfortunately, I'm going to be absent again. I won't be here to record Payload next week because I will be live on location in sunny California getting ready to cast the Hearthstone Championship Tour Winter Preliminaries. So if you are in any way interested in Hearthstone or just want to sit and scream my name into Twitch chat over and over to make me feel good about myself, nothing would make me happier.
What if we come in person and scream your name in person?
Also absolutely welcomed and encouraged, for sure. So that's my life right now, is basically just frantically getting caught up on work from being away so I can turn around and leave to go be a Hearthstone caster.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jimmy, what about you, man?
Just on the same grind, doing a lot of Heroes content right now, and it was really cool. I got to cast with Anna Prosser last night. She is a fairly well-known esports personality and presenter and stuff like that, so that was a lot of fun. But I'm so excited that Overwatch is back. I am probably going to be playing a ton of it this weekend. Sorry, Heroes, you're going to be put to the side for this weekend. Overwatch is back.
I'm in the same thing for Hearthstone right now. I just find myself, I'm like, okay, I can play Rocket League, Overwatch, or Hearthstone. And especially knowing that everything's changing with Standard coming soon, I'm just like, maybe just one more night of Rocket League. Just one more night of Overwatch. But I'm going to get into a bunch of Hearthstone this week. And I've also got a lot of editing to do for the 50th episode of Well Met. We're coming up on a year. I think this is... The 50th episode will actually be a year because I think we missed 2 weeks. So we're getting ready to celebrate that. Got a lot of school stuff going on. But yeah, overall, really exciting stuff. Kevin, what did you think about the new Well Met intro?
Oh my God.
I'm so upset that you found it, but you just found the VOD on Twitch, right?
Yeah, it was at the end of the Twitch,
Oh, no.
the end of the Twitch video, and I was listening to the show, and then you said on the show, I'll put it up on the post stream. I was like, I wonder if he left it on Twitch, and sure enough, oh man, it's so good,
so freaking good,
so good, guys. If you don't listen to Well Met, we're gonna be episode 50 at the end of the month here. You guys got to come out, check it out, because even if you're not a huge Hearthstone fan, so much cool stuff has gone into making this episode and celebrating a year of us being in the podcast business together, and we're super excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we got to get out of here. So you can go ahead and find more Overwatch stuff throughout the week at overwatch.blizzpro.com. Our intro and outro music is awesome for all of our shows. Jake Buttineau at jakebuttineau.ca. It's in the show notes. Go check his stuff out. He actually made all of his stuff available for download, too. So you can download the current Well Met intro and outro, which a lot of people have been asking for a long time. Dread Scythe of Scythe Designs has done all of our vector work and logo work and stuff like that. Thank you for doing that. And then tweet us at Payload Podcast. Send us your emails, thepayload@blizzpro.com. iTunes reviews are great, and we love you all. Good night.
The Payload is a production of BlizzPro. Find out more about Overwatch at overwatch.blizzpro.com. You can find your host throughout the week on social media. Find Jimmy on Twitter at DJ Tyrant, Kevin on Twitter at Lack of Realism, and John on Twitter at Kicked Tripod.